This is Chris Kelly with your Peak Fitness Overhead Squat Assessment. Now really the purpose of the overhead squat is to test standing posture, to see kind of the weak links of where the client might, possess postural things that we need to look at. And this is kind of the first test that we're going to do. So we're going to do our standing tests, the overhead squat and the shoulder mobility, followed by the test on the ground just for logistics' sake. Alright, so for the overhead squat test, what I'm going to do, you'll notice that I have my shoes off, right? I want you to ask the client to take your shoes off. Really the points that we want to look at with the overhead squat are the feet, the knees, and then the upper back or the upper torso, as I'm going to demonstrate here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the client to spread their feet a little less than shoulder width apart. So ask the client to maybe line the feet up with yours. Demonstrate the exercise always first. I'm going to raise my hands above my head like this. All right, I'm going to ask the client to just try to get their butt down by their heels. So squat down as far as they can comfortably. Bring it down. So for me, that's about here. And I'm going to come back up. I'm going to ask the client to repeat this 3 times. Make sure that they have the stick above their head. If it's back here, if it's up here, correct them. They're going to squat down and come back up. All right, and if they can't do that, what I'm going to ask them to do is to put their heels on the board and to try that again. Okay, if they can do that once, or if they can do that once and standing without moving onto the board, then I'm satisfied. If they're able to do it, just perfectly, they're able to get their butt down by their heels without any compensations, then they get a 3. If they have to put their heels on the board here and they're able to perform it, they get a 2. So I get a 2 with that. All right, if they're still unable to perform it with perfect form, meaning everything is straight, all right, then they get a 1, and we just kind of want to circle that. Some things to look at with this, and kind of some red flags, are the position of the feet. All right, do the feet pronate in or kind of collapse in as they're coming down? All right, I want you to make a note of that if that is the case. All right, the second would be the knees. All right, as you're coming down, do the knees come in excessively or do they bow out excessively? All right. The other thing would be the position of the hips, right? Are they hinging forward with the knees, or are they exhibiting a hip hinge? All right, we want to look for that hip hinge. If they're kind of coming forward with their knees like this, it doesn't look like they're sitting back at all. Make a note of that. And finally, if they're falling forward excessively with the bar over their head, right? Make a note of that as well. Really, any of those things are kind of a red flag that I would interpret. But I just want you to make a note of like bar comes forward overhead, knees collapse in, feet collapse in, or just anything strange that you might see, like a foot is externally rotated, if just something looks off, make a note of that, write that down next to their score, anywhere from 1 to 3, and that is your overhead squat test.